if I'd have known this like a long time ago, I would have done it a long time ago, because it's just food. That's all it is. And now, after examining what I do eat, the rubbish that we put in our body and the processed food, like, if you don't realise what it's actually doing to you and to your mind, and everything else that's happening in my whole body. So yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights into personalised nutrition with metabolic balance. I'm Cherry Wills, I'm your host today, and I'm delighted to welcome a wonderful metabolic balance practitioner based in Coffs Harbour in New South Wales, Josie Carin. And one of her lovely clients, Lesley McGowan, who is sharing her story with us today from when she started Metabolic Balance, I believe, on Australia Day weekend this year. So that would have been January the 26th. So a big hello to Josie and Lesley. How are you doing?
Hello.
So I think we should start, first of all, with Lesley. Could you share where were you at then last year, or what led you to, getting to reach out to Josie at the start of this year? Or no, talk us through all of that.
Okay. I think what happened is I got to a point where I suffer from chronic migraines, and I'd gotten to that point where no one was helping me. Doctors just wanted to put a Band-Aid on it. And I was really getting cranky with it, because over the past 4 years, they'd got considerably worse, where I was having them, 6 nights out of 7 a week. And, I can't operate like that no one can operate like that as a person. So, and I just had enough of it. And I didn't want to take another tablet, and I didn't want to, it was just a Band-Aid. So I ended up reaching out, doing some research, and I found Josie, who was a migraine sufferer as well, but specialised in migraine care. So I thought, look, I've got to give this a go. What I'm doing is not working. All these tablets I'm putting into my body is just not good. And it just started from there, because initially it was for migraines, but as we know, the byproduct of it is the weight loss. And my daughter is getting married in June, so that was a portion of what I wanted to do, but the main thing was the migraines. I just couldn't operate anymore. So yeah.
Have you always had migraines? Has this been a long-term thing?
I have. Ever since I was in my teens, I've suffered from migraines, but not as bad as what they have been in the last 4 years. So I'd learnt how to go through them, and, how to cope with them, and what medication and what my triggers were and all those kind of things. But over the last 4 years, no matter what I did, I couldn't narrow it down to whether it was heat or whether it was water or whether it was a whole heap of different things. I could not narrow it down. But after talking to Josie, and it's really good to talk to someone who is sympathetic to what you're actually going through. Whereas you go to the doctor and he kind of says, "Oh, you've got a bad headache," and it's not a headache. It's a lot worse than a headache. I can operate with a headache, not a problem at all. Can't operate with a migraine. So to find someone who is so sympathetic to what I was going through was just like a new lease of life. It was amazing.
How were these, were these migraines lasting? Talk us through what a migraine means to you, so people can understand.
Yeah, mine are a little bit different than your normal. I never got the aura or anything like that. So my migraines happen between midnight and 6 a.m. roughly. Very rarely would I ever get one during the day. It was a really weird, and that's why I could not put it down to what it was. I thought initially maybe it was a sugar drop, or I no idea. Anyway, so yeah, between 12 and 6 a.m., which means that my tablets.
Your sleep.
Yeah, I know. And I know it was horrendous. It really, really was. And then I was thinking, is that part of the trigger as to what it is, And anyway, and as we're getting older, I needed to go to the toilet in the middle of the night. So I'm kind of dealing with having to go to the toilet. And then with the migraine, by the time I get to work, I'm a zombie. So, and being in front of a computer all day because I'm in admin, just wasn't helping whatsoever. So yeah, so it was really one of those things. But I have to get them early enough. If I don't get onto it straight away, as soon as I wake up, then it turns to vomiting and stuff like that, and I've got to have a day off work. So I do the whole heat pack on my head, stay in the same position, everything's dark, and just hope to get through it, and hope that when I wake up, obviously, that I'm at the point where I can operate for the day. Because if I can't, then I can't go to work. So, and that's not fair on work either, and the team I work with. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is where these kind of it's not conditioned symptoms. It's not quite the right word because it's all encompassing. You're highly functioning. It's not that there's anything, acutely wrong, but actually it's really impacting almost every aspect of your life and the people that you care about around you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I couldn't even, and then it goes back to the whole weight loss thing. I was trying to lose weight, but there's no way I could actually go out and exercise or go out into the heat or go into the extreme cold, because then that would trigger something. So it restricts you to being this homebody that you can't leave home because you don't know what's going to trigger it during the day. But yeah, whereas, now it's a lot different, lot different.
Yeah. So Josie, can you sort of share how, so when, Lesley first came to you, what were your thoughts as, as a clinician practitioner? What were you looking at?
Yes, well, when I really felt for Lesley because she'd had this 35-year history of migraine, and was reporting 4 to 5 migraine episodes or attacks a week, which is really bringing her into that chronic category. And there was some other health things going on as well. And my first thought, as well as just that huge amount of feeling for Lesley, was this is a tough case. This is a tough case because she had tried so many things. She was under the care of a neurologist, had tried medications. And at very first I thought metabolic balance would be ideal for Lesley because this was this whole person picture going on. The migraine was a striking feature, but there was a lot going on as well.
Yeah. So had you heard about metabolic balance before Josie mentioned it to you, Lesley?
Not at all. And I mean, I tried everything like everyone does, and I was at the point where my diet, I was hardly eating a thing. Like I was definitely well and truly under 1,000 calories a day, um, and not nourishing my body and everything too. And my gut was not happy because of all the rubbish medications I'd put into my system and everything as well. So yeah, it was, I'd never heard of it, and I went, "Well, this is something different. I'm just kinda I've gotta try something. I just can't keep going and doing what I'm doing."
Yeah. Would you mind sharing just how old you are and what sort of the weight you were at the beginning of the year?
Yep. I'm 55. I turned 55 in March. I've had migraines since I was at least 18 years of age. When I first started, I think I was like 91, 90 kilos, something like that. And I'm quite short. I'm only 164 centimetres. So I'm a bit of a midget. And then now I'm down to, I weighed myself today and I'm down to 82. And that's only in about 14, 15 weeks. I've lost nearly 10. So I'll claim 10 if I can. So, yeah.
Yeah. So this acceleration or this worsening of the migraines was, you could very much say it's sort of those menopausal, probably at some perimenopause, menopausal time as well, isn't it?
That's what I'm thinking. I had a hysterectomy back in 2015. So, um, I didn't know. I mean, it wasn't long after that I started with hot flushes and things like that, but I never really suffered from anything bad, as far as menopause or anything like that. And it is confirmed I am in full menopause, But I think it's been, look, I don't know. I'm assuming that part of this is got to do with menopause. Um, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. I also don't help myself a lot because I am a workaholic. I do two jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm my own worst enemy. But there had to be something that was triggering them, and I just could not work out what it was.
Yeah. Okay. So, Josie, you recommended Metabolic Balance to Lesley.
I did. And I think what Lesley was just saying, she was so frustrated with just the symptoms being looked at. She was looking for that underlying driver. And certainly I think perimenopause and menopause plays a role in worsening migraine attacks, but a lot else is often happening around that time. And sometimes we see compromised digestive function and so on, which Lesley was experiencing too.
Yeah. What were those gut symptoms that, if you don't mind sharing, what was going on there for you?
I think it was just bloating, a lot of acid reflux, very swollen, and a little bit of IBS, and just the whole body just wasn't functioning properly whatsoever. So
It's just so uncomfortable, isn't it? That sort of bloating reflux. And I hear this. I mean, this is so common that that people have. They have this daily discomfort, but they kind of just pop the Xanax and whatever, just pop the pills and just struggle on through.
yeah, and you think you're doing the right thing by doing it, but then you realise what you're actually putting in your body and how you're stopping the body from doing what it naturally does. It's not healthy, and even things like my cholesterol, and the doctor just wants to give me another tablet, and I'm like, no, why is this happening? There's got to be a reason, and I had fatty liver, and I have done for a very long time. So, and all they want to do is give me another tablet. You got high blood pressure, we'll give you a tablet. Well, when I changed a few things at home, I didn't need to take the high blood pressure tablets anymore. Like I was just over the Band-Aids. I didn't want a Band-Aid anymore. I want to find out why. There's got to be a reason.
Okay, so you're then sort of presented with this idea of metabolic balance and changing your diet. What did you think?
I was, look, I was willing to do anything like it. My biggest thing with Metabolic Balance was when Josie showed me a few of the plans, I went, I'm not going to be able to eat all that food. I don't know how I'm going to do this. My acid reflux is going to go through the roof and all this kind of stuff. I was like mortified. I had to eat all, and I had to have breakfast, and it was like, what am I going to do? And then I had to drink all this water and everything. So Josie's worked really closely with me to kind of get through that, and it has been a little bit of a challenge. The water was pretty huge for me. And the food, look, it's good now. Josie did want to increase my nighttime feed the other day, and I just went, I don't think I can eat any more food, which was really good. Yeah.
So you went from being sort of holding that weight that you didn't want to hold, but eating virtually nothing and not losing anything, to now nicely releasing weight, feeling good, and eating more food than you've eaten in a very, very long time.
Yeah, 100%. I've never eaten so much food, and it's amazing the amount of I mean, it's just like a whole new person. The inflammation that I've lost has, oh my goodness, blown my mind. Like I didn't think, I knew I was inflamed, but I don't think you realised to what extent. After it's all kind of, well, it's to me it's all gone. Whether more comes off, I don't know. But and the brain fog and the willingness to get up and do things and the energy. It's just, I'm just, it just blows my mind. It really does. Like the brain fog, because I work in admin, I'm numbers and doing everything all the time. And I never really realised it was that bad. And it was probably a combination of the drugs I had to take early hours of the morning and all that kind of stuff. But so much clarity. And if I'm sitting here on a weekend, I'm like, I've got to do something. I've got to get up and do something. I've got so much energy. I just don't want to go to bed and sleep or anything like that. It's just like a whole new person. It's amazing, really is.
Would it be fair to say you didn't quite realise what you're supposed to feel before? I mean, like, this is sometimes what I hear is that a lot of the time people think, oh no, I'm all right, I'm okay, I can do this. And it's only when you actually are well that you realise how sick you were before.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew migraines were hindering my actual life, but to what extent I had no idea until now. Everything is just clear and I want to do more and I'm more excited about things. And yeah, and like the brain fog was huge as well. Like it's just made me far more alert at work, far more present as well. Like, when my daughter wants to talk to me, I'm like, oh, darling, I don't have to go to sleep, like let's have a chat and let's do things together and let's do things on weekends. And yeah, it's a whole different, like, I don't know how. I wish I'd known this 35 years ago, because I would have been doing metabolic balance back then. Really, I don't, all the time I've wasted in those years by being sluggish and sleeping, trying to get rid of these migraines, spending 2 days in bed because I can't function. And now I'm just like, wow, my sleep's still not 100%. We're working on my sleep. I think because after having terrible sleep for so long, my body's not used to getting a good night's sleep. But I must admit, probably the last 2 weeks, it's actually been getting a lot better. I'm only getting up once during the night and feeling really good when I wake up. When I do wake up, I do want to go to the gym. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. There's head's clear, not a problem at all. So it's just, I don't know. It's like I'm a whole new person.
So you haven't. So when was the last time you had a migraine? Sorry, we haven't quite clarified that. So what happened?
I found over the 14, 15 weeks, I've had the longest I've gone is 3 weeks without one, which, like, and it's funny because I'm just waiting. I'm just like anxious and waiting for this thing to happen, because I'm going, if it happens, it's going to be huge. But it wasn't. It was just like a normal mild migraine, which was really good. But I probably go, as I've had a couple of times where I've had 3 week breaks, and then I might have them for 4 or 5 days, and then I'll have a bigger break. So I can handle that. I can cope with that.
But it's still relatively early days as well, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, because one of the things we always say, we are not, metabolic balance is not about curing anything. We're not saying we're curing your migraines at all. We're just saying we can help your body get into better balance and then see how it really manifests. Yeah.
It's just giving me a reprieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Josie, what would you sort of say here? Would you come in and say from your experience?
Yeah, I think when you get the food right, everything else just seems to tick into place. And I think we can see that in Lesley's case. And migraine it is something you live with. We can't ever claim to cure it. It is that neurological condition that is there. It has a genetic component as well. But the idea of reducing and managing the frequency and severity of migraine attacks, particularly something that's been there for so long, just getting the food right, just showing that. Because in Lesley's case, we're actually on very minimal supplements as well. It really is the program that is doing the bulk of the work. And of course, Lesley herself. And I remember, I think it was only our second or third follow-up appointment, and both Lesley and I got a little teary as she reported she'd just gone 12 days without a migraine, which was such a big difference to where she'd been before.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that would have been, it's almost, were you pinching yourself a bit, Lesley, and saying, is this really happening?
It was like I was in a dream. It was like, I can't remember the last time I'd ever gone 3 weeks without a migraine, and it was like really weird. Like I was like an out of body experience, like this is not me, what's going on? And as I said, I was really anxious for that big one to come. I went, okay, it's building up, it's building up, it's going to come. And when it didn't, I went, my goodness. And this is only purely changing my food. Like if I had known this like a long time ago, I would have done it a long time ago, because it's just food. That's all it is. And now, after examining what I do eat, the rubbish that we put in our body and the processed food, like if you don't realize what it's actually doing to you and to your mind, and everything else that's happening in my whole body. So yeah, no, it was a very pinch myself.
Was there anything that you would say that you found? I mean, like you've already mentioned, the water was challenging for you. Did you? I mean, did you find anything particularly? Have you found it particularly challenging? Because we are talking cooking. Preparing and cooking 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner from whole fresh foods, and drinking water. That is, but the foods are, specifically what you need from your pathology results. But how different? What would you say to somebody who wants to know? Well, what was the difference? What did you do?
I think it's more the foods that are tailored to your body and your blood. I think that was the big thing. Like a lot of the foods that I got given, some of it I'd never had before, and I'm quite a boring eater, and it is just me, so I don't have to make meals for other people or anything. So it's quite easy. Um, and it's funny, like I thought, red meat was like something that I should never have had, and it's on my list. I've got to have red meat, at night time, and um, things like I don't have tomatoes anymore, which when I do all my research and stuff for the whole histamine side of things and stuff like that, and I don't have to. That must have been doing something to my body, because none of them are on my foods list. And um, I love it because I have the set grocery list every week. I don't have to think, and like I pre-prepare my meat the week before, and I freeze it, and I freeze it into bags so that I get 2 days at a time. So no, I don't have to think. And I just defrost things in the microwave, or I've got an air fryer for my vegetables. Actually, one of the things that I did struggle with, that we did talk about, was the oil side of things. Because I was never one to put butter on sandwiches or use oil for anything. I was like, no, that's like so bad for you. And then when we had to use the ghee, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But now I still do struggle with it. It's just purely a mind thing. But the flavour that it gives my food is great. So yeah, the oil was a problem. But it's a lot better now, so I'm okay. And really, that first weekend was, look, it was hard, but it was only hard because it kind of triggered a migraine, if anything. I know it was, yeah, I know it was meant to clear out everything, but I found on the Sunday I was really ill. I just couldn't eat anything, like I really just couldn't. And then come Monday, when everything kind of fell into place and I started the food, it took a few days, and then I was okay. So yeah, the weekend, it wasn't like the not eating or the food I had to eat. It was more it just triggered the migraine severely, and I just couldn't do anything. So yeah.
How did you coach Lesley through this then, Josie? This bit.
I did say to Lesley that there may be some difficulty in the first few days, and that certainly headaches and those flu-like symptoms are normal for anyone who doesn't get migraine. So you would expect with chronic migraine that it would trigger something. So it was about that expectation. Lots of water, which I'm sure Lesley didn't wasn't happy with me saying.
Very hard.
And just being really available for her as well. just so that she knew that she felt supported. If there was anything that was concerning her, it didn't feel right, to reach out and let me know. And there was, we certainly did, I think, a little tweaking to Lesley's food list, because she's in a country town, and I remember at first sourcing the sheep's milk yogurt was problematic. So we tried substituting some other things, and then we sort of found out, no, they're not really not helping. And Lesley managed to get some sheep's milk yogurt. And it was a lot about, I guess, managing expectations, that the body is shifting. There is that change happening, and that it can sometimes feel really uncomfortable. But she stuck with it.
Yeah. Was it, I mean, how did you feel the difference, I suppose, what I'm asking here, Lesley, with having the support from Josie while you were doing this kind of, like, implementing this new style of eating?
I couldn't have done it without her, like 100%. Even though we only check in now, it's like once a month or once every 3 weeks. I just found having that person there who understood what I was going through and understood the migraine, and you didn't have to repeat. Like, I always found whenever I went to the doctor, you had to repeat everything so many times, and then they still didn't understand. Whereas Josie knew exactly what I was going through. And I kind of went into it knowing that there's going to be a time. It's not going to happen overnight, because I've been sick for so long. It's not going to happen overnight. Just stick with the process. And on that time after I had those 3 weeks where I didn't have a migraine, I remember when I got emotional with Josie, it was like, I can tell someone and they understand that I've just gone this amount of time without having a migraine. It was just, yeah, I couldn't have done it without her, because I would have given up before. I mean, I would have given up the first week that I started getting them back again. I would have just given up. Whereas with Josie, it's being accountable, but it's having like a best friend that you can go and talk to, and you can explain things. And if you have got a question, then they can come back at you with because there's little things you don't realise, like things like chewing gum. I always had chewing gum after lunch when I got back to work, and I didn't even click with me. And that was my question. So yeah, it's just yeah, it was like having a best friend. It was just fantastic.
Josie, would you mind? I'm intrigued because, if you wouldn't mind sharing, because you obviously clearly, you have experience yourself with migraines. Could you just fill us in a little bit with your own experience there?
Yeah, of course. I think I'm starting to become comfortable with thinking of myself as a migraine advocate, because it's not just the physical symptoms, there's the mental and emotional too. But migraine was something I started experiencing in my teens as well. It ran in the family. I was told it's just something you need to put up with. And when I was sort of in my mid-30s, and due to a series of events, being a new mum, returning to full-time work, living in a mouldy house, all these factors came on top of me, which meant that I was actually in that chronic migraine picture, which is where you experience a migraine headache more than 15 days a month. And I was so frustrated, because I think I'm a naturopath. I should be on top of this. I should be able to manage this. And I just couldn't get out of this cycle. So I started to do a lot of extra research and study. I was fortunate enough to be accepted into a course run by the Uni of Melbourne, where they actually train GPs to understand migraine more. So I really dove in, and what the fundamental thing I think I saw that could help migraine was food and diet, and particularly anything that balances blood sugar. I think once you balance that blood sugar and insulin, a lot of other things seem to fall into place. And I know, when I first started looking around for a nutrition framework that I could then use in my clinic, I came across Metabolic Balance. And what I really liked about it is that it aligned so well with naturopathic principles, but it's also personalised and evidence-based and whole food focused. and it addresses those underlying issues. And what stood out for me also is that it's based on those blood markers, which felt like the missing link for myself and also for clients who weren't getting answers elsewhere. So I'm really pleased to say that, through metabolic balance, my own migraine is so much better managed. It certainly was better when I started to understand it more, but metabolic balance made a difference to me personally as well. And I'm now like really comfortable recommending it to all my clients.
Yeah, I think this is I resonate very much with that, because we, as I'm a nutritionist, naturopath, you're a naturopath, but you can get your health to a certain level. And then, my own story as well is I was able with metabolic balance to take it, like actually really get on top of a few things. I mean, I'm not a migraine sufferer. I haven't actually, that's not my issue, but it is something that it's about the body being in balance. So Lesley, your body is now in balance, or you feel more in balance.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I've still got a way to go. Like I'm not probably not at the point where I could go on maintenance or anything like that. I feel like I've still got a good time frame to still be doing it. But I think after being through the last 4 months, that I know it's going to get even better, and I'm excited for that because my daughter hopefully in the next couple of years will start having children. So then I've got the energy to spend with my grandchildren and help her with her children. So I'm quite excited about that side of it. But yeah, I'm just incredibly grateful for Josie and steering me. I mean, she never pushed metabolic balance on me whatsoever. Our initial thing was trying to get these migraines under control and for her to learn about what I was going through and my symptoms and everything like that too. So the thing that spurred me to kind of do it was that, with my daughter getting married, I just went, I've got to do something because I can't be having a migraine on the day of my daughter's wedding. Like, that can't be happening. So yeah, I'm just forever grateful to even get to this point. I really am.
Yeah. If somebody were to be like listening to this and relating to what you are saying, but they're still saying, "Oh, I don't know if I can change my diet like in any way, or I don't think I can do that," what would you say to them?
Look, I think for migraine sufferers, you will do anything. Like you will do anything to stop having those migraines. You're not going to compromise on anything. And I know with myself, I had a couple of days where I was a little bit probably naughty, but in saying that, I learned that when I had something that I probably shouldn't have, I paid for it over the next few days. So I think as a migraine sufferer, you will do whatever it takes to not have a migraine because it's just debilitating. It wrecks your whole life. It really, really does. So, and like I've saved money doing this. Like it's a whole big picture. It's not only that I'm fixing my body, I'm also fixing my bank account.
Okay, so in what way have you saved money? I'm intrigued.
Well, you don't get to like because my shopping list is the same every week. Because I'm quite boring. I'm quite happy to have the same thing every day, and every now and then I'll change up, zucchini for cauliflower. Um, but I'm okay. Like it's the same shopping list every week. Um, you're not snacking. You're not going out and having takeaway or being lazy and going, oh look, I have got nothing at home. I'm just going to go and order a pizza. You've got to be prepared, and I'm quite particular when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I've got everything for the week in front of me, not a problem at all. So I've saved a fortune, absolute fortune in money, and it's only been 4 months. Like it's definitely to me, it's paid for itself in that 4 months, easy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think, have you done much eating out at all? Just out of interest.
I have. I've probably been out about 4 times, I think, in that time frame. And it does make you reassess what you're actually going to choose. you know, if like for lunch, I think it was for lunch we went out one time and I went, I know I can have, you know, chicken today. So I know I was meant to have it for breakfast, but I'm not going to do it for breakfast. I'll have it for lunch. So I'll have something that's got chicken in it and I'll go vegetables to go with that. I never really was a big chip person or anything like that. But I've also found that if I do go out with the kids, then if they have chips, I might have one or two. And then I'll go, yeah, no, I've done that. I'm okay with that now. So, um, yeah, and I know my quantities and everything too. So I'm pretty good with, and I can't eat like a big meal that you would have at a normal restaurant or anything like that where you would go. So I'm lucky my son-in-law's got a healthy appetite. So whatever I don't eat, he eats as well. So it kind of works out all right. But yeah, eating out was a little bit of a challenge, but I know what I can do now, so it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. I think what I always quite like people to maybe, and you can disagree or agree with me, whatever you feel, both of you here, but it's actually more what you gain, isn't it, than what you're actually think you're missing. Like, things do need to change. I mean, like how you were eating and how your life, what you were doing on a day-to-day basis, it needed to change because you were suffering so much. But that change has given you so much more than the idea that you're not just eating whatever you want in a restaurant, or just whatever's on, you're actually being a bit more choosy and selective in what is good for you.
And it just makes you rethink everything that you are actually putting in your body. And, when I don't know, it just makes you rethink everything. And, you want to help your body. And that if you put something in your mouth that's not going to work, you are going to pay for that for days, not just, the next morning. Like it can be days that you'll pay for that.
Were you surprised by that, though? Sorry, were you surprised that it had such an impact?
Yeah, I've heard that before, where it does with migraines, that it can be like a delayed effect, and I never really thought much of it. And I think with metabolic balance, because it's similar to an elimination diet to start with, and then you can start reintroducing things. I remember I had a day where I was really bad, and I bought a bag of caramel popcorn, I thought it was, and I went, oh, it's only popcorn, it's not going to be a big thing. Well, that was a week later that, like it took a week to actually get over that bag of popcorn. So I never really thought much of it. So, but obviously it's had an effect, and it was the only thing that I'd had that was different. So I'm kind of, but I look forward to my meals every day. And people think I'm a bit weird because I have chicken and zucchini for breakfast. But I look forward to,
It's just food, though, isn't it? It's food.
yeah, it is. And I look forward to every meal. Like, I'm excited to get home and have lunch and to have dinner because I enjoy what I eat now and I appreciate it. So, yeah, it just changed the whole way of thinking. It really does.
I love how with metabolic balance, your taste buds do change. I remember I do have tomato on my plan, and I remember 2 or 3 weeks in and tasting tomato. Tomato is so sweet. I'd never realized how sweet it was before.
Yeah, and I think that just shows, just as quickly, because you're both suffer from migraines. Josie, you have tomato. Lesley, you don't. It's not about like a standard diet for a condition. That's why I think so often these things don't work. When you go to a personalized level, what is triggering the person, that's where you get the change.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a culmination of a lot of different things too. Like food to me was like 95% of it, but it's also your stress that you have in your life. Um, for me, it was bottling things up and not being able to talk to anyone about it and no one understanding and the frustration. Whereas with Josie, I could talk to her about the migraines and how I was feeling because she understood what I was actually going through. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of different things. And I find now that I can exercise, that's helped as well. That's helped clear my mind. It's helped me give a bit more confidence. It's a whole big picture. It's not just one thing, but I'll guarantee that, metabolic balance was 95% of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's open that way to get the exercise in because you're now in the place where you can do it. And that's the often I almost want to use the word tragedy that people are told, oh, you've got to exercise, but actually you're not even in a physical position to be able to do that. You must see that all the time, Josie. You hear people being given advice that they actually can't physically do yet.
100%. And one of the things about migraine that a lot of people don't understand unless they experience it is that the anxiety you have waiting for the next attack and how that affects your life. You'll not go to music concerts or um, go for a run or do all these things because, oh, well, I'll just get a migraine. And so you're just living with this anxiety the whole time, even when you don't have an attack. And I remember when Lesley telling me, oh, I managed to go to the gym. It's not just a visit to the gym. It says so much more about that improvement in health and being able to actually live life.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's so true. The day-to-day fear of because they could come on quickly, can they not? I mean, they can, and then you can be stuck somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I did the other day, and I didn't realise. I've never been one who's been able to have Easter eggs or anything like that. They always made me nauseous, so I didn't really do anything. I never really had them. And then the other day at work, my boss's two little boys had some of those little cheap Easter eggs, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to have one, not a problem. So I think I had two, and within the hour, I was down. I had severe migraine, severe. And then I had to, because I worked home's half an hour away, so I had to get in the car and drive. That half an hour, still waiting for my tablets to kick in, that I didn't even realise this was going to happen. So I didn't realise chocolate, but cheap chocolate too. Like that was the other side of it. Whereas I've had other chocolate during this time, like only a little bit, but it hasn't had the effect that these two mini Easter eggs did. So I think it's just eliminating yourself.
Yeah, and it's this ongoing learning and awareness, isn't it? That's really what it is.
It's also taught me to be kinder to myself as well. So of those mornings where I don't have a migraine, but I don't want to get up and go to the gym, I'm better with it. I'm kinder to myself, going, it's okay. You can have a sleep in, and that's going to be okay. You don't have to get up if just because you don't have a migraine doesn't mean you've got to go to the gym and you've got to go and do things. It's okay to have a lie in if you want to have a lie in too. So I think it teaches you a bit more kindness on yourself. It really does.
Perfect. That's what we all, I think, so need. Yeah, Josie, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think as Lesley continues on with the program and continues to heal, I'm hopeful that she'll get to a point where she actually can have the cheap Easter egg and get away with it because you have reached that. So, yes, I that's always the goal for me is that, yeah, you can go somewhere and have a glass of wine and be fine. That's where we want to get to ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. That resilience, I talk about that just with you slowly build the resilience, and it can take a number of months. Sometimes it could even be a couple of years. But I like to also see that you have learned what you need to learn. That means that you can enjoy the next 30, 40 years, Lesley, and know what you need to do. It's not, and that's where I think it's so important that MB isn't seen as a short-term diet. It's actually, the interest and the learning that you get from it. Then you can look at it. Things change, things move, the body heals, becomes more resilient.
Well, I can't see myself eating any other way now. Like I've seen the benefits of it, and I don't know why I would even go back to, having takeaway and putting those nasties in my body. And, I think I'm just more self-aware now that I won't change my eating plan whatsoever. I enjoy, as I say, I enjoy every meal I have now, and it, it's just second nature now. I don't think twice about it.
I totally agree. That's exactly how I feel. I mean, it's just, yeah, I've been doing it now for like 12, 13 years or whatever it is. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to go back. Oh, why would I go back? God, I don't have any desire. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you. It's been fantastic hearing your story, Lesley, and Josie. It's been wonderful to hear your insights as well. I think it's so important to share, what true experiences are. If anybody is listening who is relating to Lesley's story or wants to reach out to Josie, would you want to share your website just quickly, Josie?
Of course, yes, you can find me at josiecarin.com. So that's JosieCarin.com. And I'd love to help.
And also, just generally metabolic balance, we have got some fantastic metabolic balance practitioners around the world. So wherever you are, you can actually find your local MB practitioner and get yourself a metabolic balance plan. It's, as Lesley, would you agree it is pretty life-changing when you know what you've got to eat?
Oh, 110%. Absolutely life-changing. It's given me a new life. Like, it's given me life.
That's amazing. Thank you, Lesley. Thank you, Josie. And thank you to everybody for listening. And we will be back next time with more stories.